a samurai stood before a crucial letter he needed to write. It would determine his next duel, his reputation, his survival. The logical part of his brain said, "Write it now." But another part whispered, "Later." He recognized this voice instantly, the procrastination program running in his mind. Instead of fighting it with willpower, he deleted the program entirely. The letter was written in 5 minutes. The procrastination voice never returned. There's a mental reprogramming protocol that Japanese warriors developed in the 1500s, one neuroscience only identified in 2021. They called it Enki Sohatsu, instant action programming. Western researchers call it behavioral override through pattern interruption. They've shown it can eliminate chronic procrastination in 21 days. But there's a problem. Everything you've been taught about beating procrastination is strengthening the very pattern you're trying to break. Have you ever noticed how the harder you fight procrastination, the stronger it gets? How you promise yourself, "I'll start tomorrow," knowing you won't. How you feel guilty about procrastinating, but still can't make yourself act. That's not weakness. That's a program running in your brain, one you've accidentally trained for years. You know that feeling when you have something important to do, but you do everything except that thing, cleaning instead of working, researching instead of creating, planning instead of executing. That isn't laziness. That's your mind running a procrastination program so deeply embedded that it activates automatically. Today, you'll discover why Miyamoto Musashi, who fought over 60 death duels, never procrastinated on a single one, why his mind couldn't generate the later response that derails most people, and why the ancient Japanese understood something modern psychology is only now proving. You can't fight procrastination with willpower. You have to reprogram the mental pattern that creates it. But there's a catch. Reprogramming your mind requires you to deliberately trigger your procrastination response, then interrupt it in specific ways. Most people would rather keep procrastinating than face the discomfort of rewiring their brain. Now, let's begin with the moment Musashi realized procrastination was a trained pattern, not a personality trait. Chapter 1: The Awakening. Musashi sat in a room at age 20, staring at his sword that needed sharpening. He'd been staring at it for 3 days. Every morning, "I'll sharpen it today." Every evening, "Tomorrow, for sure." The voice in his head was consistent, "Not now. Later." On the 4th morning, he had a duel scheduled. His opponent arrived. Musashi's sword was dull. He nearly died because his blade couldn't cut cleanly through his opponent's guard. He won, barely, through pure skill compensating for equipment failure. After the duel, sitting with his still dull sword, something broke in him, not anger, but understanding. "I've been saying I'll do it tomorrow for 3 days, but tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow is always today when it arrives. And when it arrives, the voice says tomorrow again. This voice is lying. There is no tomorrow. There's only now and not now, and I keep choosing not now." He realized procrastination wasn't about the task being difficult. Sharpening a sword takes 10 minutes. It wasn't about lacking time, either. He'd spent hours doing nothing. It was about a voice in his head that said, "Later," and he'd been trained to obey that voice without question. That night, he conducted an experiment. He placed his sword in front of him. The voice activated immediately, "Sharpen it tomorrow." He noticed the voice. He noticed the feeling of, "I'll do it later." He noticed his body wanting to stand up and do something else. Then he did something different. Instead of obeying the voice or fighting it, he asked, "Who is generating this voice?" The answer shocked him. He was. His own mind was generating a procrastination response automatically, a trained habit, like a program running in the background. And he'd been unconsciously obeying it for years. More experiments followed. Every time a task appeared, the voice arrived, "Later." Every time a decision was needed, the thought appeared, "Tomorrow." Every time action was required, resistance surged, "Not now." The pattern was consistent. A task appears, the procrastination program activates, he obeys. The revelation was simple: he'd accidentally trained his brain to procrastinate. Thousands of times, he'd faced a task, felt resistance, chosen later, and experienced relief. His brain learned the equation. Resistance plus delay equals relief. That became a program. Now, whenever tasks appeared, the program ran automatically, generate resistance, suggest delay, produce relief when delay is chosen. He understood something critical: you can't fight a program with willpower. You have to reprogram it, delete the old pattern and install a new one. Make instant action the automatic response instead of delay. A neuroscientist who has studied habit formation and procrastination for 18 years explains the mechanism. When you repeatedly pair a task appears with a response, delay the task, and get a reward, relief from discomfort, your brain creates an automatic habit loop. After enough repetitions, the response becomes unconscious. You procrastinate without deciding to procrastinate. The program runs automatically. Musashi realized he had been running the procrastination program thousands of times for 20 years. The neural pathway was deeply carved, but neural pathways can be rewritten. He needed a reprogramming protocol. Chapter 2: The Principle of Shunkan Kodo, Instant Action Pattern. 3 days after his near-death duel, Musashi began training the first principle, Shunkan Kodo, the instant action pattern, the practice of creating a new automatic response that overrides procrastination. Musashi wrote, "The procrastinator's brain runs this loop: task appears, feel resistance, delay, relief. This loop has been practiced 10,000 times. It's automatic. To change it, you must practice a new loop 10,000 times. Task appears, act immediately, completion, relief. Eventually, the new loop becomes automatic." The key insight: you can't delete the procrastination program by simply not procrastinating. You delete it by overwriting it with a stronger program. Instant action, the Shunkan Kodo training protocol. The 3-second rule. When any task appears in your awareness, you have exactly 3 seconds to begin physical action toward it. Count: 1, 2, 3, move. Don't think about the task. Don't plan the task. Don't evaluate the task. Just count and move. This interrupts the procrastination program before it fully activates. Microtask immediate execution. Break every task into the smallest possible first action. Don't write the letter, pick up the pen. Don't clean the room, pick up one item. The first action is so small that resistance can't build. Execute it immediately. This trains the instant action pattern. The movement override. The procrastination program lives in thinking, I should do this, but maybe later. I'll do it tomorrow. Break the thinking by moving your body immediately. When a task appears, stand up instantly. Walk toward the task. Physical movement interrupts mental loops. Musashi's training was systematic. He created a list of tiny tasks throughout his day, deliberately designed to trigger procrastination: sharpen the sword, clean the room, write a letter, practice a specific technique, mend clothing. For every task, he practiced the new pattern: task awareness, 3-second count, immediate movement. Day 1, his procrastination program fought back hard. The voice screamed, tomorrow. Later. Not now. But he held the 3-second rule. Count. Move. The voice didn't stop, but he stopped obeying it. By day 7, something shifted. The automatic, later, voice was still there, but quieter. His body started moving before his mind could generate full resistance. By day 14, the new pattern was competing with the old. Sometimes he procrastinated, sometimes he acted instantly. The programs were fighting for dominance. By day 30, instant action was winning most of the time. The 3-second rule had become nearly automatic. A task appeared. He counted. He moved. The procrastination voice still existed, but it was losing power. Research on habit replacement shows why this works. The brain doesn't delete old neural pathways, it builds new ones that compete. When you practice a new pattern consistently, it strengthens daily. Eventually, the new pathway becomes stronger than the old. The new pattern becomes the default automatic response. But Musashi discovered a problem. The 3-second rule worked for small tasks, but big tasks, duels requiring extensive preparation, complex training sequences, long-term projects, still triggered, "I'll do it later." Even after immediate movement, he needed something deeper. Chapter 3: The Principle of Kyu no Ryo, Using Fear. 6 weeks into instant action training, Musashi faced his first major test, a duel scheduled 30 days away against a superior opponent. He needed intense daily preparation, but the procrastination program activated powerfully. You have 30 days. Start tomorrow. One day won't matter. He discovered the second principle, Kyu no Ryo, using fear to override procrastination. The deliberate practice of making the cost of delay more terrifying than the discomfort of action. Musashi wrote, "The procrastinator's mind calculates discomfort of doing now versus relief of delaying. Relief wins. To reprogram, reverse the calculation, terror of consequences versus discomfort of doing now. Terror wins. Most people try to reduce fear to overcome procrastination. Don't think about failure. Stay positive. Visualize success. This removes the very force that could override procrastination." Musashi did the opposite. He amplified fear deliberately. Consequence visualization. Before every training session, sit and vividly imagine the worst outcome of procrastination, not vaguely, but in extreme detail. Musashi visualized losing the duel, his sword failing, his body cut open, dying in the dirt, his name forgotten, his mother's shame. 5 minutes of consequence visualization before each training session. The death timeline. Calculate exactly when consequences arrive. I have 30 days until the duel. If I don't train today, I have 29 days. Each day I delay, death gets 1 day closer. Make the timeline visible, concrete, undeniable. No second chance. Remind yourself that this specific moment will never return. If you don't train right now, that moment is gone forever. You can't get today back tomorrow. This is your only chance to train today. The first morning, Musashi sat and visualized losing the duel in graphic detail, his body dying, his reputation destroyed, his life ending. The fear was overwhelming. Then he thought, I could train right now and reduce this probability, or I could delay and increase it. The choice became obvious. He trained for 30 days straight. Before every session, 5 minutes of consequence visualization, then immediate action. The fear of consequences became stronger than the comfort of delay. The procrastination program couldn't compete with survival instinct. The duel arrived. Musashi had trained intensely every single day. He won easily. His preparation was so thorough his opponent never had a chance. But the real victory wasn't the duel. It was discovering that fear could be used as a tool, not avoided as an enemy. The right fear, applied correctly, destroys procrastination instantly. Modern psychology research on implementation intentions and mental contrasting supports this. When people vividly imagine both positive outcomes and obstacles or failures, their commitment to action increases. Fear of failure, when made concrete rather than vague, becomes a powerful motivator that overrides procrastination tendencies. However, Musashi discovered a limitation. Fear works for tasks with clear consequences, duels, survival. But for tasks with distant or unclear consequences, daily practice with no immediate test, long-term skill building, life projects, fear was insufficient. He needed the third principle. Chapter 4: The Principle of Komoku Bonketsu, Task Decimation. At age 25, Musashi set a goal, master a new sword technique that would take an estimated 10,000 hours of practice. The moment he conceptualized 10,000 hours, his procrastination program activated massively. That's 27 years at 1 hour daily. I'll start next week when I'm more prepared. He discovered the third principle, Komoku Bonketsu, task decimation. The practice of breaking down overwhelming tasks until they're too small to trigger procrastination. Musashi wrote, "The procrastinator's mind sees 10,000 hours and freezes. The achiever's mind sees only the next 5 minutes. Massive tasks trigger procrastination. Tiny tasks trigger action. Reduce every task to the minimum viable action. The procrastination program has a threshold. Small tasks don't trigger it strongly. Pick up the sword generates minimal resistance. Large tasks trigger maximum resistance. Practice for 10,000 hours generates overwhelming procrastination. The solution: never present your brain with large tasks. Always reduce them to micro-actions, the Kimoku Bonkatsu Protocol, the 5-minute reduction. Whatever the task, reduce it to, what can I do in 5 minutes? Not, master the technique, practice one movement for 5 minutes. Not, write the book, write for 5 minutes. The 5-minute version doesn't trigger procrastination because the commitment is tiny. Focus on the single next action. Never think about the entire project, only identify the single next physical action. Not 10,000 hours of practice, pick up the sword. Now complete that action. Then identify the next single action. A chain of micro-actions replaces an overwhelming totality. The present-only focus, train your brain to think only about the action in front of you. Never focus on future completion. I'm not practicing for 10,000 hours. I'm practicing right now for 5 minutes. After these 5 minutes, I'll decide the next 5 minutes. Eliminate the future from consideration. Only now exists. Musashi tested this on his 10,000-hour goal. He stopped thinking about 10,000 hours. Every day, I will practice this movement for 5 minutes right now. At the end of 5 minutes, he'd decide whether to do 5 more minutes or stop. Usually, he continued, but the decision was always just 5 more minutes, never the whole commitment. 3 months passed. He'd practiced 90+ hours without experiencing procrastination once, because he never triggered the procrastination program. His brain never saw an overwhelming task, only 5 minutes right now. 5 years passed. He'd accumulated thousands of hours. The technique was mastered. He'd achieved the 10,000-hour goal without ever holding it in his mind. He'd just practiced 5 minutes at a time, thousands of times. Research on goal setting and task initiation confirms this mechanism. Large, distant goals activate the prefrontal cortex's planning and evaluation systems, which can create decision paralysis. Small, immediate actions activate motor systems more directly, bypassing evaluation. When subjects focus on tiny next actions rather than overall goals, task initiation increases dramatically. This principle, combined with the previous two, created a powerful system: instant action pattern, the 3-second rule, fear-based motivation, consequence visualization, and task decimation through 5-minute focus, together eliminating 90% of his procrastination. But one final element was needed for complete reprogramming. Chapter 5, The Principle of Kanryo Kiken, Completion Pleasure. At age 30, Musashi had been practicing anti-procrastination training for 10 years. His instant action was reliable. His use of fear was effective. His task decimation was consistent. But he noticed something: it still required effort, slight effort, but effort nonetheless. He wanted procrastination elimination to be automatic, effortless, permanent. He discovered the fourth principle, completion pleasure, the practice of rewiring your brain's reward system to crave task completion instead of task avoidance. Musashi wrote, "The procrastinator's brain is programmed: delay task, feel relief, feel pleasure." This loop has been practiced 10,000 times. To fully reprogram, install a new loop: complete task, feel relief, feel pleasure. Practice this 10,000 times until completion becomes the craving, not avoidance. Change what your brain finds pleasurable. If your brain gets pleasure from procrastination, the relief you feel when you delay, you must retrain it to get more pleasure from completion than from avoidance. The Kanryo Kiken Protocol. Immediate celebration ritual. The moment you complete any task, even a tiny one, pause and consciously feel satisfaction. Don't rush to the next task. Stop. Notice, I completed this. It's done. Let the completion pleasure register. This trains, completion equals pleasure. The completion announcement. After finishing tasks, say out loud or write, task complete. I did what I said I would do. This verbal reinforcement strengthens the completion pleasure response. Your brain hears the announcement and associates completion with a positive identity. Contrast awareness. Deliberately compare the feeling of completion versus the feeling of procrastination. When I complete tasks immediately, I feel capable and calm. When I procrastinate, I feel guilty and stressed. Make the contrast conscious. Your brain will start preferring the better feeling. Dopamine reassociation. Procrastination currently produces dopamine, relief from task pressure. Rewire this by pairing completion with even stronger dopamine. Immediately after task completion, do something mildly pleasurable, drink water you enjoy, step outside for 30 seconds, or take 3 deep breaths in sunlight. Task completion leads to a pleasant experience, creating a dopamine spike. The brain learns, completion is rewarding. Musashi implemented this religiously. Every task, no matter how small, complete it, pause, feel satisfaction, announce completion, compare it to procrastination, and pair completion with a small reward. Week 1 felt artificial and forced. Week 4 started to feel natural. By week 12, he noticed something profound: he was craving task completion. When tasks appeared, his immediate thought wasn't, "I should do this," obligation. It was, "I want to complete this," desire. The reprogramming was working at the deepest level. After 1 year of Kanryo Kikan practice, his brain had rewired. Tasks appeared, and he felt an immediate pull toward completing them, not away from them. The procrastination program still existed. Old neural pathways never fully disappear. But it was so weak compared to the instant completion program that it rarely activated. Neuroscience research on habit formation and reward circuitry explains this transformation. The brain's reward system can be retrained to find pleasure in different behaviors. When completion is consistently paired with reward, satisfaction, announcement, a pleasant experience, the brain begins to crave completion. After sufficient repetition, the craving becomes automatic. You genuinely want to complete tasks rather than avoid them. The 4 principles working together created complete procrastination elimination. Shunkan Kodo, instant action pattern. The 3-second rule interrupts procrastination before it fully activates. Kyofu no Ryo, using fear and consequence visualization makes delay more uncomfortable than action. Kumoku Bonkatsu, task decimation. The 5-minute reduction prevents overwhelm from triggering procrastination. Kanryo Kikan, completion pleasure, reward rewiring makes completion desirable instead of avoidable. Combined effect, the procrastination program is replaced by an instant completion program. Chapter 6, The Complete Transformation. By age 40, Musashi had lived 20 years with a reprogrammed mind. Procrastination was not just reduced, it was essentially non-existent. His brain automatically executed tasks upon awareness, no delay, no resistance, no internal negotiation. Morning tasks appeared in awareness: sword maintenance, training, preparation, correspondence. Each task triggered instant action. No "I'll do it later" voice. No resistance. Just immediate movement toward completion. Throughout the day, complex projects, difficult training, and uncomfortable tasks were executed immediately upon decision. His brain didn't generate delay responses anymore. The instant action program was so strong that delay felt more uncomfortable than action. Decisions needed to be made, he made them instantly. No deliberation paralysis. Evaluate quickly, decide, execute. The old pattern of, "let me think about it," procrastination in disguise, was gone. Long-term projects and massive undertakings that would paralyze most people were reduced to 5-minute actions and executed immediately. Over time, massive projects completed themselves through accumulated micro-actions. When others asked, "How do you never procrastinate?" "I always delay things I know I should do," Musashi answered. "I deleted the procrastination program through 20 years of reprogramming." You're still running the old program because you've practiced it 10,000 times, but never practiced the replacement. They didn't believe it was possible. Procrastination is human nature. Everyone procrastinates. Musashi, procrastination is a trained pattern, not human nature. Babies don't procrastinate. They act immediately on every impulse. You learn to procrastinate through years of practicing delay. You can unlearn it through years of practicing instant action. But most people won't invest the years, because that itself triggers procrastination. This is the paradox. Overcoming procrastination requires consistent practice over time, but procrastinators procrastinate on the very training that would eliminate procrastination. They stay trapped in the loop. Chapter 7: The Truth About Modern Procrastination. Here's what Musashi understood that modern people refuse to see. Modern life is designed to strengthen your procrastination program, not weaken it. Every app, platform, and service is engineered to maximize instant gratification and minimize delayed gratification. Immediate entertainment is always available. Instant communication is always accessible. Quick dopamine hits are constantly offered. Your brain is being trained thousands of times daily. When discomfort appears, escape into pleasure. This is procrastination training. Discomfort appears, I should do work. To escape, scroll social media. Relief. Temporary comfort. Repeat 10,000 times. Your brain learns, avoid discomfort through immediate gratification. This is the procrastination program on steroids. Modern procrastination research shows it's not about poor time management or laziness. It's about emotion regulation. Procrastinators avoid the negative emotions associated with tasks, boredom, anxiety, frustration. Avoidance provides temporary relief, but strengthens the avoidance pattern. Breaking procrastination requires retraining the emotional response to tasks, not simply learning better planning. Chapter 8: The Path Forward. You don't need 20 years like Musashi. You can begin reprogramming today. Weeks 1 to 2, install Shunkan Kodo, the instant action pattern. Use the 3-second rule for everything. Every time a task enters awareness, count 1, 2, 3, then move physically toward the task. No exceptions. Not just this once. Every time, count and move. Break tasks into micro-actions. Don't clean the house, pick up one item. Don't write the report, open the document. Execute the micro-action immediately. Track your compliance. Mark every time you follow the 3-second rule. Watch consistency build. Your brain learns through repetition. Weeks 3 to 4, add Kyofu no Ryo, using fear. Do 5 minutes of consequence visualization each morning. Imagine the consequences of continued procrastination. Be specific and vivid. Feel the fear, then let it motivate immediate action. For every task, calculate when consequences arrive. Make the timeline visible. I have 7 days until this deadline. Each day I delay increases the probability of failure. Weeks 5 to 8, implement Kumoku Bonketsu, task decimation. Use the 5-minute reduction rule. What can I do in 5 minutes right now? Execute those 5 minutes immediately, then decide the next 5 minutes. Single next action focus. Never think about the whole project. Only identify the single next physical action. Complete it. Identify the next one. Chain micro-executions. Train present-only consciousness. Eliminate future overwhelm. Only now exists. What is the action right now? Weeks 9 to 12, build Kanryo Kikan, completion pleasure. After every completed task, pause, consciously feel satisfaction, announce, task complete, and notice the good feeling. Train your brain, completion equals pleasure. Pair completion with a small reward, water, sunlight, deep breaths. Completion leads to reward, the brain learns completion is rewarding. Practice contrast awareness, compare completion feelings versus procrastination feelings. Make the preference conscious. Expected timeline, Week 2, instant action begins to feel more natural. Week 4, fear motivation overrides procrastination on important tasks. Week 8, task decimation prevents overwhelm. Week 12, completion starts to feel genuinely pleasurable. Month 6, procrastination significantly reduced. Year 1, the new program becomes dominant. The transformation requires consistency. Practice daily. Your brain will resist. The old procrastination program will fight for survival. But with each practice, the new program strengthens and the old program weakens. Eventually, you won't need to fight procrastination. The instant action program will run automatically. Musashi died at age 62, having lived more than 40 years without procrastination controlling him. Every task appeared, he executed immediately. No delay, no resistance, no internal war. He sat before that crucial letter from the beginning, the one that would determine his next duel. The old Musashi would have thought, "I'll write it tomorrow." The new Musashi's brain didn't generate that thought. Task appeared. 3-second count. Pen picked up. Letter written, 5 minutes to complete. That reprogramming is available to you, not through fighting procrastination with willpower, but through systematically replacing the procrastination program with an instant action program. You currently have a procrastination program running automatically, task appears, delay, relief. You've practiced this loop thousands of times. It's deeply embedded, but programs can be overwritten. Install the new loop, task appears, count 3 seconds, move immediately, complete, feel satisfaction. Practice this loop thousands of times. It will become your new automatic response. Procrastination isn't your personality. It's a trained pattern, and what's trained can be retrained. Remember Musashi's teaching, the procrastinator practices delay 10,000 times and wonders why delay is automatic. Practice instant action 10,000 times, and instant action becomes automatic.